Welcome to Constant Struggle. I'm Nick Watson.
And I'm Brie Watson. And this is a podcast where we talk about the struggles balancing life and art, which don't really sound like very big struggles right now in the grand scheme of, the global
Everything
affairs. But nevertheless, we persist.
In the face of all this, I keep remembering the first Avengers movie where Nick Fury is like, act as if the world intends to go on.
I like that.
I think we have to go with that one. I got a couple of days to go before the Toronto Star deadline, so it's been a fucking nightmare.
Oh no!
Trying to write this.
How many pages do you have left?
Oh no! I'm in the middle of editing it.
Oh, okay. So it's written.
I want to embetter it. Mm-hmm. But like the whole process, I wanted to be done this part like a month ago, so I had a month to edit, but it didn't happen because of the fucking truckers and now World War III. So it's
what did the truckers have to do with you?
Oh, I was following that like crazy. I was
they didn't drive into your driveway and prevent you from editing.
I was lost the whole time following it like a madman.
Yeah, because if you're just in a Twitter rampage of trucking nonsense, that's not a good place to be at all. Well, I'm Brie. I'm an improviser, a comedian, a writer. This is episode number 76 of the Constant Struggle podcast, and it features an interview with Wellesley Robertson III, a circus artist, performer, self-proclaimed jack of all trades, master of none.
There you go.
A lot of physical comedy. He does a lot of physical comedy, and I think you'll really dig this episode because he really talks about how he has taken his performances literally all over the world. Like he's been everywhere. He's been everywhere.
It's like a Bourdain episode, this one, it feels like.
Yeah, but instead of food, it's like cool circus or different kinds of performances all around the world.
All right, Brie, let's get on the TTC at Wellesley Station and go for a trip around the world.
That sounds wonderful. Here we go. Episode number 76 with Wellesley Robertson. Enjoy.
Jack of all trades,
okay.
Master of none.
Lovely.
I'm sure we can all relate to that. Jack of all trades, Master of none. It just kind of, things have just kind of evolved to that kind of level, let's say.
Is there a trade in particular that you end up doing more often, or that you are more passionate about? Like what most?
Well, it's weird because I would say everything started. I'm on my year off between university and teachers college.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, and I graduated university in 2005.
Okay.
So this year off has been perpetually extended.
That's
so it was one of those where it started with, finished university, was going to go into phys ed. Well, I studied phys ed, and then was thinking, okay, I'll go to teachers college. Wanted to go to New Zealand or Australia because something was calling me out there. I mean, why do it here?
When you can do it somewhere warm.
Not Canada.
On the other side of the world.
Yeah.
But then after that, I started with breakdancing and acrobatics. So a friend of mine.
How do you get
gymnastics with?
Sorry, I'm sorry. You started with breakdancing and acrobatics. That's where you started.
Yeah, because I was growing up. I was a gymnast and I retired at 14, just before high school. I mean, it was a bit of a forced retirement. I thought I was taking I have a thing. I think year off seems to be my go-to, because I was told, don't worry, you'll just be retiring for the, it's expensive. So, and you're starting high school. So you're just going to take this year off to get settled. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I was also playing soccer at the same time. So no matter what, I was doing two sports or so on. And then from that year off, it extended. I was still coaching at the gym, but I wasn't training. And then from there, university happened. And then I was still tumbling here and there, and then went from
literally.
A friend of mine, they were breakdancing and doing acrobatics for the Blue Jays, actually.
Oh, cool.
And it was somebody I grew up with, but I didn't do it for the Jays at the time. They was just kind of, they had a group that was performing, and they asked if I wanted to join. I was like, sure. I'd love to. I mean, it's it's still still here and enjoying it. And then from there, everything kind of evolved from there. So it started with breakdancing and circus art. So that's when I started, doing acrobatics and balancing people on my head or stilts, which I do have a pair of stilts back here somewhere.
That's amazing.
And then it just, like, one thing just kind of led to another. I mean, we were doing a lot of, we did some stuff for the Jays in the summer, some street festivals, so some trade shows. There was a lot of weddings that were done.
Oh, wow.
And then various, there's some commercials that I had done. I performed at one of the Junos in Ottawa.
Like so what, at this point you're performing like breakdancing or all kinds of
breakdancing, and it was breakdancing and circus art. So acting hadn't really come up.
Okay. And how do you, can I ask how did you learn all of it? Did you just, like, as you were meeting up with these people, they kind of taught you, or you were already kind of, I guess if you're already a gymnast, you're already pretty skilled with, physical movement.
With the flippity flips.
It was that. It was, because the group I was with, we were meeting up with some other people as well. And then I was like, okay, so we're going to go and learn circus arts or some form of circus arts.
Yeah.
I was also performing with a group called, I learned some the stilts with a group called Anti-Gravity, which was, they were based in New York, but one of the guys was here, and he was doing stuff. And those are the stilts that I was on, were the ones that you can jump with, so you can jump and do flips.
They're like bouncy ones. Oh man, that's crazy.
They're definitely bouncy. Yeah, so those are the ones I did the Junos with, with Headley. Of all groups.
Wow. Okay.
Before everything blew up on them.
Before we knew everything.
Everything. Yeah. So it was a great experience, because and then I was also we were also training at a center called the Center of Gravity, which was the home base hub for Zero Gravity Circus, which a lot of stand-up people have come out, or circus and clowns have come out in there, like Sandra Battellini's there, and Phil Luzzi. I met them through there, so I'm friends with them too.
Oh, nice.
So it's and it's been really interesting, the people that I've met, and one thing led to another.
They used to have like a big show there, like a big.
Yes.
What was that one?
Yeah, the Lunacy Cabaret.
That's right. Did you perform there?
I have done a couple. I have done a couple Lunacy Cabarets.
I've seen these worlds cross over now.
Man, I've been wanting to take in a good cabaret for friggin' years, and it's never happened. I gotta prioritize my cabareting.
Well, the Lunacy Cabaret is very. Like it was wild. I don't know how I haven't been in a few years. Yeah, it was like anything that you could probably think of might actually happen, and then some. And then you're like, what am I? Okay, cool. This is out there. But okay, I got it. Yeah. And then it's just, it's just really, I've met a whole bunch, just meeting different people. There's another group called Circus Orange that I got to perform with. So it's just, there's a lot of circus groups, comedy groups. So it started physically with physical theater, and then the next thing, I did a couple auditions here and there, and then wanted to get into I've done some stunt work, which I've done a bit, but I wouldn't say I'm a stunt person.
Okay.
I've done some stunt, but I haven't worked enough to say I'm a full-fledged stunt person. It's just like, I wouldn't say that I was a break dancer. I was a performer who can break dance.
Wow. Okay.
Right? So, and that for me, that's more of a respect for the discipline. Especially because I have a lot of friends who are break dancers, who are b-boys. They are that's what they do. For me, it was an added skill that I have that I can use.
Something you could put on the resume in case.
Exactly, special skills. Oh yeah, I can do this. I know there are people that are much more skilled, more talented than I am, but at the same time, if you needed somebody to do it, I could do it. Or like, I mean, I don't spin on my head, but I can, I can maybe do one revolution as opposed to 7.
Right.
But I can
fix the rest in post. Like,
yeah. So and then can we go back to ones and do it? Oh, God, more times? Right.
My head hurts.
But so it just kind of evolved from there, and then after that, I done a couple commercials, been in a couple films, background and special skills, the joys of being a performer here in Canada. And then it kind of evolved because I was always doing that. I hadn't taken an improv class yet.
Okay.
Now, going backwards, I was on the improv team in high school.
Ooh. And where'd you sorry, I didn't ask if you grew up. You grew up in Toronto, or were you in
I grew up just outside the city. So I grew up in I'm a York Region kid.
Okay.
I went to high school in Richmond Hill.
Oh, okay. Why did I think you were from Montreal? I think it's because I know you.
Je suis bilingue.
C'est pour ça.
Nick, I'm bilingual for you. That's why.
That's embarrassing. Thank you for that. Now I understand.
He knows.
So
I was doesn't practice.
I'm a product of the French immersion system. All the way.
Cool.
All the
Okay,
way through.
awesome.
So I'm one of those kids who after grade 8 I decided to continue because there was, at the time, I don't know how it is now, we had the 3 streams: French immersion, extended French, and then core French, and Le Grenouille Saute and Louis la Bibliothèque.
Oh right,
So I decided to continue in high school, and then in university I decided to continue. So that's probably why you thought I was from Montreal.
Because it's a lot of French. It's not just, it's not just I took French and that's a lot of French.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so you grew up outside of York Region. You're talking, outside or in York, in Richmond Hill. Yeah.
I grew up in Markham and went to high school in Richmond Hill because of French immersion.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
At the time, it was either Richmond Hill or Aurora. Those were the only 2 French immersion schools at the time. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and with no francophone parents, I couldn't go to a French.
That's right, to the all French. That's crazy. Nowadays, I bet they would. I bet they would let you in now.
I think the rules changed a bit. Yeah.
Like, we want people to learn French. Let's go get it here.
Preservation of the language. So they need to do it. Yeah. So going back to high school, I was on, we started an improv team. It was late. And that was when the improv games were around. So it was 99, 2000. Now the thing is, I was on the team, but didn't compete at the games because the year they decided to go was my OAC year. Oh, and the lovely OAC. And here I was, student council president.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was fancy. I was one of those. You were kids.
Involved.
Yeah, was on the volleyball team. Was on, I was involved in the school.
Yeah, if you were gonna go study phys ed, then you must have been into sports and all of
exactly.
That.
And then at the time when the games were supposed to happen, it was the second half of the year, and I was like, you know what, I'm doing a lot. I was also playing soccer 5 to 6 days a week.
Wow.
So after school. So it was one of those where something's got to give. Mm-hmm. I went to all their practices. I helped form the team, but didn't go to I went to watch them, but didn't go. So it was because I just didn't have the time. But that's when the improv bug, I think, was bitten, or that's when I started. And then as I was performing, I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a class. And at the time, I lived near Bad Dog when they were on the Danforth.
Okay.
But I didn't go to take class because I heard weird things at the time, and being young and immature and not really knowing too much. At the time, I knew Second City was they were the cream of the crop, and then Bad Dog was kind of like, whatever, but that was the mentality I had at the time. It was like, it was kind of just, people getting together and not really professional at the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, I totally understand that's how Second City makes their money, right? Is they are a top dog.
They're not the bad dog. Yeah, they're the big dog.
They're not. They're the big dog. Yeah. Okay, so you went to Second City. You took a class.
So then, but before I took a class there, I was still performing, and then I ended up doing an opera.
What? What? Okay, what? Like, explain.
So, yeah. Okay. So here's what happened. I was doing I was doing some circus arts, and we did a cross Canada tour where we essentially toured Canada 5 times, going back and forth.
What?
But the most scenic route ever. So we started in Ontario, and then we went to Saskatchewan, and then we came back to Manitoba, and then we went out to BC, and then we came back to Ontario.
Wow.
All this on a bus.
Oh my God. That is a long journey.
Yeah.
5 times?
That's how we crossed Canada. It was a cross Canada tour with another circus program that was based here in Toronto. And then after that, I met another acrobat who, I didn't know at the time. He was the dance captain for this opera, and I found out that the head of the director of the circus show sent out an audition from the Canadian Opera Company for this new opera that was happening. And it was okay, and they were looking for acrobats and puppeteers.
Which
it was called The Nightingale. So it's Nightingale and Other Stories, or Le Rossignol. It was directed by Robert Lepage, I've worked on a few shows since. He's also directed Ka for Cirque du Soleil and Totem. And
wow.
So initially I did the audition, and a friend of mine, my friend was dance captain. Now, I didn't get the part at the time.
Okay.
They called me 2 years later and asked me if I was still interested in joining the show. And at the time they said, well, we're going to New York, but you won't be able to come to New York, but we'll be doing Quebec City, Amsterdam, and Lyon.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
So here I am. Yeah.
That's a pretty good trip.
Right. So the reason I got that was because they needed someone to replace my friend, who is roughly about the same size and it can do the same amount of tricks. So it was a direct phone call. They called me directly.
Wow.
And then on the phone, they're like, well, don't answer right away. Take some time to think about it.
You're like,
and here I am. I'm already saying yes in my head. And I was like, okay, cool. You'll call back. Great. No problem. My aunt who was a dancer, she was with Ballet Creole. When she was younger, she now lives in Calgary. I called her right away, and she's like, "You need to take this." I know, but they said, she goes, "Don't think about it. Just you. This is something you need to do." I was like, so when they called back, I was like, "Yes." Now that is where things started to really snowball.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You're already doing so many things, and this is where. Okay, all right. I'm on this journey.
Yeah.
Here we go.
because for me, I was starting to get really, I guess, bored with the breakdancing and acrobatic side. Well, the breakdancing side, because we were doing a lot of weddings. And we were doing the same performance and the same thing. And there was also a rift that was happening with everybody performing. So it was kind of that I'm starting to get to a point where I need to do something different. And then,
I mean, the monotony of breakdancing is well known.
I totally get it. Yeah. But it was just, there was a lot going on in the interweaves, the interpersonal relationships and so on and so forth. That was kind of like, okay, this is, I think I'm slowly starting to see coming to a head. And at that time, so what happened was I did the first trip. We trained here in Toronto. They went to New York. Cool. And then when they came back, and a couple weeks later, then we did our first part in Quebec City, which was great. Performing it, and it was really cool. Learning. Then we went to Amsterdam, And that was my first big
go.
trip away.
I was gonna say, had you been to Europe before?
No, this was my first time. Well, Europe, yes, on a high school trip.
Oh, cool.
That's,
okay.
That was just March break. Here it's, we're going to learn about Normandy and.
Man, that's still a cool trip.
It's cool, but actually, no, that is a fun trip. I was going to say maybe a little bit of a downer, but I think never mind.
Yeah, no, it was great, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And that was so
like you're here to work in Amsterdam, like that's awesome.
It was 5 weeks in Amsterdam.
Oh my
gosh. It was basically all of December. I spent Christmas, New Year's, and my birthday in Amsterdam. Now, small fun fact about Amsterdam, if you can ever get to Amsterdam for New Year's, it's a riot. Because apparently fireworks at the time I was told fireworks are banned or restricted all year. I could be wrong, but this is what I was told, except for New Year's.
Whoa.
Now, New Year's Eve day, you hear fireworks all day. And as the day progresses, they get progressively louder and more constant. So as much as it sounds weird to say, you could think you're in a little wartime because you're hearing just explosions
constantly.
Everywhere.
No kidding. Yeah. And you can't it's like during the daytime. What's the point? You can't even see them during the daytime.
No, you just hear explosions going on. Things are blowing up here. Okay, cool. And then as the day progresses, they just get louder and bigger.
Wow. Now comes nighttime. It'll be the kids. They're just so anxious because they can only do this one time. So they'll be nagging their parents. Come on, just one.
Let me just get one.
Yeah. So it was neat because it was my first time in Amsterdam. I was there for Christmas and New Year's, and the Christmas markets were great, and New Year's was nuts. Yeah. And I got lost. You didn't let yourself get every day.
Oh, I love that city. You didn't allow yourself to be tempted by the drugs and the sex.
Well, I did go to see what the red light district was all about.
Yeah,
I went to go, and they had the sex museums that were there. Apparently, there's about 3 of them or 4, but there's you have one sex museum, and then you have the real sex museum. I'm so what's the difference between the two? And then you have another sex museum that's somewhere else. I'm okay, so I've just seen everything. But there's a lot of penises in the a lot.
I don't know which one sculpture. I went to, but I don't know if I was particularly impressed with the sex museum. But then again, I might have been too high to realize what was going on. I love Amsterdam.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, even I did my Heineken tour and became a Heineken aficionado.
I'm not a big Heineken fan, but by God, it tastes good over there.
Well, but the one that you're supposed to drink is Amstel.
Oh, all right.
Right, and then we learned about why the bottles were green at the time.
Ooh.
It's because they used to take the water from the Amstel from the river, so to hide what was ever in it.
I love those little Amsterdam stories. My favorite is that most of the shops in Amsterdam have a cat, a resident cat, because the city is technically below sea level because you've got the all the canals and stuff. So there's there's tons of rats. So every food shop or anywhere where they have food, or if they have a little coffee shop or whatever, there's usually a resident cat to take care of the pests. And if it's in one of those coffee shops, that cat looks pretty high.
Well, there were a lot of bicycles too.
That's true.
A lot of bicycles. Everybody's telling me, we have about 3 bicycles, and it's I have one at home, and I leave this one here, and then I'm gonna go get another one. It's why? Just take the one home. Nah, it's all good.
I remember taking
a short in Amsterdam. Everyone's 7 feet tall there.
That's true.
Well, yeah, the Dutch are some of the tallest people I've ever.
They are a long people.
They are very, very tall. But yeah, so Amsterdam, it was neat. It was an experience. I mean, I went to the zoo, and the zoo was neat, but I was really disappointed because they had raccoons. These are from North America, and I kid you not, these are the smallest raccoons I've ever seen. I'm you are putting these in the zoo. You know what? Let's go back across the pond. We'll show you raccoons, because these are not raccoons. These are like little kittens that you just painted. And
they clearly haven't been eating enough garbage.
Right?
Some good quality Toronto garbage, and that'll be
your trash pandas are locked up.
Aw.
Yeah. So then after Amsterdam, we did Lyon, which is another great, beautiful city.
Beautiful city.
How long were you there?
Lyon was there for 3 weeks.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
How was the food?
It is, yeah. I've been, Lyon is great. I've been a couple times since, also for work. But I prefer, like, in order of favorite cities in France, I would say it's Lyon, then maybe Marseille, and then maybe Paris.
Yeah, Paris. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, right? Like, Paris is your tourist destination, but people who live in Europe and who can access the rest of France more frequently would probably rather be anywhere other than Paris.
Well, and that's the thing, like, Paris, I found the first time I went, I was in high school. I was too young to really like it, because I was like, they're snobby and and then the second time when I went back and I was on my own, what I realized with Paris is you have to push back. So no matter if you don't push back, you won't like it. But as long as you push back, you do. That's okay. I get the city now.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's Nantes. I prefer Nantes over Paris, which is.
I've never been to Nantes. What is in Nantes?
Nantes, well, they have a lot of castles. Cool. They have this big puppet group that's there, and they make these massive puppets. So I was there we were doing a show, and I always call these my work vacations. So what happens is when we tour, I usually go in with the technical crew and leave with the technical crew. So I get a day in the beginning and then a day at the end to my own.
Nice.
Instead of flying in with the rest of the actors, which is fine. Where the actors are scheduled to come in, I fly in when the technical crew flies in.
Oh, nice.
Or travels. So that way I get a little days here and there to do myself. Except for when we did New Zealand, I was there for a month. I went like 2.5 weeks early.
Man.
But yeah, so it's been really neat. So after we did those tours, that's when I did my first actually improv class at Second City.
Okay, can we rewind? I'm still stuck on this puppet thing. You said they're big puppets, and I've been. I lived in the north of France, and they had these things called les géants, and I'm wondering, were they like huge, or were they?
Yes. It's made by Royal Deluxe. Oh. So that's the company that done them, and they're known to make these massive puppets. Like one was Les Géants, where they did one where they put parts of it all over, and then there's this big big sleeping giant that's a massive puppet. So that was just going to see them, and we got to see the workshop and see how they were made and the inner workings of it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it was neat, and just some of the cities I got to see, or some of the things we've got to do because of touring with the show that I was doing. Like when we went to New Zealand, we got to go to the Weta workshop, which is sick. So we got to see how some of the Lord of the Rings stuff was made.
Oh, cool.
How the orcs were made, and it was seeing these things where it was really neat, and then just like they invited us to go see it. Like, yeah, okay, we'll go for sure.
No, I'm not really interested in seeing this really cool, intricate, artistic.
One of the biggest movies of the year. How you guys did it? No, well, I don't want to see it. Who wants to see that? So go behind the scenes?
Was it the same tour or the same show you were touring in New Zealand, or was this a different show? Or am I jumping ahead?
No. You're fine. So I've done a couple shows. So the opera, we did 3 cities. That was cool. And then, but the funny part is when we went to Lyon, we actually did 1.5 shows because the technicians were going on strike.
Yeah, that sounds like France.
Yeah, perfect. And our show is very, very tech heavy. Like we knew it was going on, And we were there rehearsing. Everything was going great, but we kind of knew that was coming. We did the tech rehearsal. Everything was fine. Then we did the first run. Show went on. We went to do the second show. We got to the theater. We got changed. We did the opening number, and then they went to a little break, and we found out that the technicians were going on strike. So like, okay. So we're going to do a concert version of the second part. Great. We did a concert version, or started to, and then the orchestra went on strike in solidarity with the technicians.
Yep.
So then we're like,
the
okay.
Most French story I've heard. In a while.
What is the audience like at that point? Are they
the
like,
audience
what the
goes
hell?
on strike
we live
too,
in France.
yeah.
Never.
Well, I was like, okay, so you guys knew this was happening, but you're still going to push through. The audience was a little bit upset. And then it was like, oh, I just got a 3-week paid vacation in Lyon because you decided not to do the show because of the strike. Cool. I guess.
Wow.
That's what's happening. So that's how that show ended at the time.
Oh, okay.
Jump forward again. So then after that, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Got back, started doing breakdancing again, going back to that, doing some auditions for commercials, for SOC, and got some SOC roles as well.
Nice.
And then the group, the company, which is Ex Machina, based in Quebec City, which is Robert Lepage's company, they called me again and asked me would I be interested in doing another opera when they're looking for acrobats. I was like, great. And what happened was I was replacing the same guy because he got injured this time.
Oh no.
So the first time he had another contract, the second time he got injured. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And we were doing the Tempest so I was playing a fairy. So that was, it was
fly?
good.
What does that entail?
We were just, it was a cool rendition of it. So we were tumbling, cool, and just running around, being sprites and being fun. Now, the thing was, they were taking this to the Met. Now, I didn't get to go and perform in the Met because they had already hired the acrobats in New York for the role. So what was happening was, in Quebec City, we were working out all the kinks and doing everything, doing the show. So then when it went to New York, they would just plug in everybody and the tracks and everything. Boom, I would go.
Wellesley, have you ever had the opportunity to go to New York? Because it sounds like you keep missing out on New York shows.
Well, I went to New York. Okay, I not to perform. I went to New York to actually go see the show.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I went to go see it, and that's where I think that weekend I also saw, I saw Stomp as well on Broadway, and I also saw Book of Mormon for the first time.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
In New York. Yeah, so that was, I didn't get to perform there, but I got to see the show, got to see the Met, and then the choreographer Crystal Pite, she was like, I wish you could just come in and do the show because we're having problems. I was like, I'm here.
Yeah,
me too. Like I can like, unfortunately unions, joy of unions and stuff. So, but I got to see the show, which was neat. And then they did a couple changes, like the track that I was doing, they gave to a different acrobat. And then I was just going by costumes. I'm like, wait, I didn't do that. Oh, okay. So they kind of mixed it up a bit, but then it was cool to see. It's like, oh, great. So then after I finished that, about a little bit later, I got a direct call from Robert Lepage himself. He says, look, I'm interested in remounting a show that I did many years ago called Needles and Opium. At the time, it was a one-person show, but I actually want to incorporate another character, which is the Miles Davis character, as an actual character instead of just done in shadows. And I was like, oh, okay, let me think about it. I'm already saying yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. But so I was like, yeah, we don't know where we're going right now. I know we're doing Toronto, Quebec City, and Montreal. I was like, great. 3 big cities. Whatever happens after that, great. That from start to finish, once we started rolling, I toured with that show for 5 years.
Wow.
6, and I'm actually supposed to be in Quebec City right now doing it, but for COVID, it did get postponed.
So you're playing Miles Davis in this?
Yeah. So Needles and Opium, the quick synopsis of it, it's basically about a guy who's going through a breakup and how he's coping with this breakup. Now it's essentially 3 stories in one. So the main story is the guy who's going through a breakup, and he's the main guy. The second story is when Miles Davis crossed the Atlantic. He was in Paris and saw how he was being treated in Paris, and they loved him and was respected. Then came back to New York or in the States and was treated like a second citizen. Ugh. And then the third story, which is kind of, it's there, but it's really loosey goosey. It's Jean Cocteau, his views on American society. So essentially what happened is Jean Cocteau and Miles Davis crossed the Atlantic at the same time in opposite directions. So for that show, I was basically doing heroin and getting drunk on stage. Is what it seemed. And the neat thing was, the stage that I was in, it was a cube that rotates. So I was suspended from it. And, I was, people were like, oh, did you really play the trumpet? I'm like, yeah, no, I did not. I took a trumpet. I learned to play the trumpet in elementary school, as we all do, for music. And I took a couple trumpet classes just to make the fingering look real, the breath control to look real. But to play at that level while suspended from a cube and trying to make it real, I'm like, yeah, that's not, I can fake it till I make it, but that's not going to happen.
It's a trick too far.
Yeah. So we did that. And then from there, we did Quebec City, did Toronto, great. Montreal, perfect. Then the next part was New Zealand and Australia. And that was the year I was trying to miss winter completely, because before that I was in Las Vegas. I usually go for a soccer tournament just around my birthday. So that's January. Then I come back and we're in the beginning of February. I was like, cool, if I can do it. And then I was there for 7 weeks. So all of February and then part of March. That was the year that Mother Nature decided winter is going to be long this year. She wasn't listening to my plans. So I went from stayed a month in New Zealand, which was great. New Zealand, and this was actually my second time to Australia, because I had done a busker show.
Amazing.
We did a busker festival, and that was my first time, which it was great. It took me about the reason I went to New Zealand was so long was because the first time I went to Australia, it took me about 2 weeks just to get around the same time frame. Now I forgot that I stayed up the entire flight.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because I was that excited.
Right.
So stayed up the entire flight.
That's like 24-hour flight or something.
It was. We did Toronto, Vancouver direct to Sydney, and then we had another puddle jump from Sydney to Coffs Harbour, where the Busker Festival was. And
okay.
So that was my first time in Australia, and loved it. And then the second time I went, we did New Zealand, and I loved Australia until I went to New Zealand. And then New Zealand I fell in love with, and then Australia was like, I like you, you're great, I will. But New Zealand was just, the way I see it, it's the relationship between Canada and the United States is New Zealand and Australia. New Zealand being Canada, Australia being United States. It's just the dynamic, the relationship, the vibe just seemed that.
Yeah, like England and Scotland, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
Similar?
Just a chilled difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was that, and then so we did New Zealand, Australia. We went to France. We did Lyon. We also did England. I was in England for about 4 weeks.
Oh, nice.
Spain, Japan, Korea.
Wow!
Oh my God!
And do you get to when you're in these places? Do you get to I know you said you travel with the text, you'll get like a day to yourself, but when you're going all over the world like this, did you get any time to kind of explore the city or the different cities, or was it like go 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 go?
I call them work vacations for a reason. Like I said, New Zealand, I was there 2 weeks before everybody. Everybody from the festival that we were at knew who I was. I was there. I did my first bungee jump in New Zealand before the show. I might have gotten in trouble because I did it and didn't tell our tour director that I went. I just kind of posted a picture of me suspended from my feet. She was
They're like, we need you in the show.
Yeah. Well, can you wait until after we do the shows before you go do stuff like that? I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Okay. Yeah. So I got to go see, like, I did Hobbiton when I was in New Zealand.
Cute.
Yeah, it was neat. And then when I watched it, like, I was walking down there. When I was in Australia, I went to the Olympic Park. I went to Taiwan, and then from Taiwan, a friend of mine was teaching at one of the American schools in Shanghai. So I went and then did a puppetry workshop and performance workshop with the kids there.
Oh, nice.
On my way home from Taiwan, stopped off in China, and he was like, "You need to go to Beijing." And I was like, "Okay." Almost got stuck in Beijing. Yeah, that was fun.
How do you what happened there?
The weather.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And no one really speaking English
at
all in the airport.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I had to get back to Shanghai, but I almost got stuck in Beijing. I went to Bahrain in the summer for a circus show, and had the military police from the United States consulate come up to me when I was taking pictures. Yeah. When I was in Japan, I got to do a kabuki. I got to go see a kabuki show, which was absolutely neat. I got to go see a sumo match. Didn't know what the heck. Didn't know it was the thing is, it was the last match of the year. I didn't know what I was watching, but it was absolutely amazing. Wow. And it was either go to a sumo match or go to a live action Sailor Moon show. That was the two dynamics of that day. But yeah, like I try to make the most of everything. I mean, they are work vacations, and I don't know how long or when I'll get to go back to see some of these places.
Right.
Like, I'm a soccer player, so I did go to, like, when I was in Spain, I went to go to the stadiums.
Nice,
when I was in France, I got to go see a couple games.
Nice.
One of the people I was staying with when I was in Lyon, she had season tickets to Olympic Lyon game, a match. And I was like, I was trying to go to a game, and I was just going to buy tickets. She goes, "Don't buy tickets here." And I kid you not, they were right at the center of the field.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it wasn't dead on right on the touchline, but they were great seats. And I was like, I didn't even have to pay for these, and these are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and Lyon's a good club too, right?
Yeah. In Korea, I went to a baseball game.
Oh, cool.
I'm not a big baseball fan, but I would go watch baseball in Korea anytime. They had cheerleaders. You could bring in your own food.
Whoa.
It was tickets were like $10, and I was on the first baseline.
Amazing.
It was absolutely unreal. I was like, this is absolutely great. It was, I mean, it's these little things that you just, I'm going to go and just walk and see what happens.
Do they have like the chants for each player as well? Like,
yes.
I think they do that in Japan.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
it was absolutely, baseball, going to baseball here, I was like, this is okay. I'm ready to leave after the fourth inning.
It's so tame.
Yeah, no, they were like their cheers on the dugout, and they're having a good time. I was like, this is baseball. This is exciting. This is fun. And I wasn't even watching the game. I'd rather watch everything else. But and then getting immersed in the culture too. Like, it was, going to see a sumo match in Japan. Didn't know anything, and it was something I wanted to do. Going to see a kabuki show, which you can either do a full day session at the kabuki show. You can do a half day in the morning. You can do a half day in the evening. You've got all these little nuances and things you can do that you wouldn't know unless you're there. I went to Disney in Japan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that was a hoot. Disney in Japan is something it's an experience in itself.
Yeah.
So, and then it was just, I was in San Francisco. We did a show there. I was a tourist in San Francisco, basically, and then got to go to they had a Dr. Seuss exhibit and did that, and then I was doing a workshop with some of the kids from the art school or from the drama school there.
Oh,
I was
cool.
like, oh, okay, you guys are gonna take a workshop from me. All
Oh,
right. You know, that little bit of imposter system, syndrome that we all have going on. I'm like, you guys, I fell into performing. You know, you guys are paying to do it, and I fell into it, and I'm just taking what I've learned, you know, from Second City, from performing, from different, you know, learning from different people, and doing that.
Well, that's so awesome that they're, you know, like at that point you had traveled the world performing, you know.
Yeah.
It's funny how even if that's something like it's something you're doing, even though you didn't, you know, necessarily train at some fancy school for it or whatever, you know, it's like, of course people should learn from you. You've been doing it, you know.
But and that's the weird thing. It's like I've been doing it, but you're paying you haven't, you know, I've been doing it, but I haven't taken the classes or some of the classes that you have.
Right.
I mean, I did a class. I did a theater class or a physical theater class in Vienna, and I was there for a week, and it was just all about movement and physical theater, and it was a cool learning experience. Mm-hmm. It started off rough when I lost my passport.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was like, so that day I took a plane, I took a train, I took an automobile.
Yes.
All in traveling. I had the only thing I didn't take. Yeah, the only thing I didn't take was a boat, and then I would have had every mode of transportation. But it was on one of the stops. I guess I left my passport. I guess it was in my pocket. I think I might have left it in the washroom.
Or somebody might have taken it. You know.
Yeah, it was one
People
of those.
do sometimes when you're traveling.
Yeah, and I got to that destination. And I tapped my pockets and no credit card, no.
Oh God, that's stressful.
Oh my God, was it ever? And I didn't know how I was gonna get from the train station to where I was staying. Luckily, the taxi driver was like, "Okay, don't worry about it. I'll just take you there." And then I got there, and here I am. I called home and then bawled. I was like, I don't want the stress of all that travel and loss.
That's a freaking nightmare, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I don't even. It was an ugly cry at the time. and then got through it, and then it was a great experience just going there to learn. Mind you, they had us getting up every morning about 7 to do Tai Chi. Yeah, but
that's
I wanted
early,
to sleep.
Yeah.
and then after the class was done, or the workshop was done, I stayed in Vienna for another couple of days. There was a festival, which to this day I still don't know what I saw on the opening act, because they were all on stage. People were running on stage, and I'm there in the crowd, and people are losing their mind. On stage there was a DJ, there were lights, and there was a smoke, and everyone was just losing their. I'm like, yeah, you put lights and smoke, of course it's going to look great. It's going to look amazing. You got the lights going through the smoke and changing colors, and music playing. Yeah, and people are like, they're analyzing it and losing their mind. I'm like, okay, cool. Then they have people start to run. They were just running around the stage and jumping in the front, and then running around the stage and jumping in the front. This is choreographed.
Do Austrians not know that raves are a thing at this point?
You'd think so. Like you're in like, Austria, which a lot
Berlin,
of
Germany.
So then all of a sudden, one person runs and they have no pants on. I was like, what the hell just happened? The next person ran through and didn't have a shirt. I was like, okay. Then the next person ran through, no bra. I'm like, what? And then the next person had a shirt, no underwear, and no pants. Like, okay. Wow. The next thing I know, I'm like, everybody's naked, and they're doing this running on stage. One girl, she comes to the front, and then she shakes her brew right at the front, and everybody's losing their mind. I'm like, what am I watching here? I get art, and I get getting, but this is like, you're just getting naked for no reason, and just want to shake your stuff. Cool. I'm all for, if you want to do it, great, get naked, yeah, but at least have a purpose or a point.
I need a narrative here, guys.
I want to follow something, not just run around. There's smoke and lights and music, and all of a sudden you're just naked and jumping. I'm like, I don't get it. But yeah. So that was that, and then got back, and then after that it was more like, cool, performing is where it was is what I like to do from there. And it's one of those where it was really neat to see that there, at the time I was like, there's just more than just breakdancing and acrobatics, and there's a whole lot more. So then I started doing more stuff with Second City and more improv classes, and did the conservatory, auditioned first, and then got in, but then had to step back because I had another tour to go with. So then re-auditioned again and got back in.
What was your conservatory show called?
We did, it was myself with Ophira and Grace. We were and that, like, the conservatory experience was, to me, it was an experience in itself, because it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Okay, tell me more.
Which I don't want to go off a tangent, like, because at first I thought it was going to be more improv.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I think a lot of people have that kind of like realization where they're like, oh, I thought this was I'm learning how to improvise, but it's like, no, you're learning how to write.
You learn how to write a sketch. Yeah. Right. So I got past that, and that doesn't hit you until level 3 or 4.
Yeah, because at first
that's when it really you're improvising. Okay, cool, I get it. This is fun. Yeah, okay, cool. I can see and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is not what I had done.
Yeah.
Or what I thought it was going to be.
Did you Did you enjoy the writing process? Because at this point you're doing mostly performance, and now it's like, okay, we got to sit down and write and figure this shit out.
Well, yeah. So, and then it was, at Conf level 4, it was, I started to like, okay, the writing side is maybe not, it doesn't appeal to me as much, but at the same time, it's something I have to do. Like, I love to perform. I love to be on stage. I love to perform it. And that's what I love to do. The writing side, I was like, okay, I get it. But
I guess it's like a medium to get you performing, but by that point you didn't have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I thought it was going to be something else, and it wasn't. And then, as Brie, how relationships change in Con 4 as things progress, how scenes come up and scenes get cut, and then scenes go on and scenes go.
Who was your director?
We had Kevin Whalen.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which was great. Which was like, he really, he had at one point I started going through things, like there was like the jokes that I was throwing were, black jokes, but it was, you needed to understand certain things, certain dynamics and then for some of the people in my group, we had to explain the joke.
Yeah.
Whereas if you followed the scene, it's pretty apparent of what we needed or what we wanted instead of, and then when people try, I'm gonna put my own spin on this. I was like, no,
my spin is the spin. This is the whole point is my spin. Yeah.
You don't need to go bigger. Just here's what you need to do, and that's it. And then from after that, doing that, and then the experience with Bob Curry.
Cool.
Which was,
how was that for you? Because I've heard different experiences with the Bob Curry Fellowship.
Well, what I found with it was a great group. It was myself, Andrew Cromwell.
Nick. This is a diversity program that Second City offers to really elevate diverse voices in Second City's community. So that's just to give you context there.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was great. The group that we had, it was good. I mean, nice. And what happened was our show, the show, they cut our show in half too. So one group did the first part of the show, and did the first half, and then the second group did the second half of the show.
What? That's weird. So, is that weird? That's
Monica,
weird.
I think it was a little bit weird because you wanted to work with some people, but they weren't in your cast.
Yeah.
So we were basically a 2 casts in one show.
That's weird.
Which it worked. We made it work, and we had fun, and we worked with each other. But when working with some scenes, we had to, okay, this is the only group that we're going to work with because this is the scenes we're doing. And it was a really fun experience. But with that, I realized, because I had the experience of being in con, where I was basically the only minority, as to doing the Bob Curry, where we're all minorities, which or we're all people of color, and so we're all are diverse, which buzzword is being used. But it was interesting because I got to see both sides, whereas some jokes you need the other side in order to tell it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Right. And
so there's different. Interesting. So there are some challenges, I suppose, when the entire cast is diverse, and you're like, okay, but if we want to make fun of, or like, or draw attention to,
right. Yeah, like it wasn't too a punching up, because it's satire.
Yeah.
And then it's that finding that fine line of how we can navigate it.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience, and I wouldn't trade it. But after
who was your director for this one? Anne Pornell.
It was Anne.
Nice.
Yeah. And Anne was great. It was great. She made us work, and she challenged us. So it was great. But at the same time, I was also we were setting up for the show, and I actually had to go on tour for for a weekend. I had to go to I was doing rehearsal for that. And then I was doing a rehearsal for Frame by Frame, which was a show with the National Ballet. Cool. And then we did a tour in Romania. I was in Romania for about 18 hours. I did rehearsal, and then left rehearsal, got on the airport, went to the airport, flew to Romania, landed in Romania, drove straight into tech rehearsal. We were doing Needles and Opium at a Shakespeare festival in Craiova, Romania.
Wow.
So that combination was weird. So I was traveling for more hours than I was actually in Romania. So
you're like a narcissistic assassin. Like, we need a man for a job. Some director's like, I got the guy.
and then
do your thing.
Yeah, and then still got to throw in a little bit of I'll be a little bit of a tourist here and there, and look a bit, and then and that was that. And then from there we did it, and after that did the show. It was great, and then we went to Russia.
Oh wow!
Did Russia? We went to Perm, which is basically the Yukon of Russia. Yeah, oh. We were we go there. We landed at it was in the winter, so.
I just got cold in the winter.
No, sorry, it was summer.
About it.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, it was summer, because I remember it was just before the World Cup. So we were there. We landed at 5:00 in the morning is when the sun comes up, and it set like around 11 at night.
Okay.
So
that's
how far north we were.
Yeah.
And it was neat because we were there, we performed, we walked around. I was definitely the cultural ambassador for a lot of Russians. I was the first Canadian that they'd ever saw, and by Canadian I mean person of color. Yeah, that happened.
Oh my god, that's fun. It's like, we all look like me over there.
Well, we were at basically it was this little kind of like amusement park. And I'm walking around. I have a Canada shirt on, and then I'm being followed by these kids. And I noticed, and I clocked them right away. I'm like, these kids are following me around. They're like, two of them, they're on their scooters, and then they pass me on their scooter, turn around, and then say, "Canada." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I know you're not. That's the first time, okay, but the second and third time, I know exactly what's happening here. I'm the first," and I use air quotes, "Canadian that you've ever seen." So this is happening, and then I stop and go get something to eat at the amusement park, and then right across the way there's like a little stall. You go there like at the CNE or whatever, and they have like some food or whatever. And then the woman was there with her son, and she literally was pushing him towards me to go sing something in Russian, but along the lines of go practice your English on this guy because you are going to English school and we want you to be better. So anybody who's in French immersion speaks French, or when you're younger, you're learning, and your parents like, what they say? Go speak French to that person. Can you translate what they say when your first trips to Montreal? So this kid was having that. I was laughing on the inside because he came up to me and practiced his English. I was dying because I was like, not only am I your cultural ambassador, I'm now being your English teacher, and your mother is pushing you because my mother did that to me with French. I love it. It was a total nostalgic, and it was great. But being able to travel and then see different areas, I mean, it's been one of the most rewarding things I've been able to see. And then working between Ontario and Quebec, you get to see a difference in the way performing is.
I bet.
That's like, for example, unions are different.
Okay.
So in English Canada, you have the two big ones. You have the ACTRA and Canadian Actors Equity. So ACTRA is covering film and television, and Equity is stage, among all, and opera and all the others. Whereas in Quebec, it's UDA.
That's just one all around.
Union des Artistes, which covers everything. And it's something that I really found neat, because in Quebec, yes, there's the art side, but it's one of those where in Quebec, it seems like they support their own product more than in English Canada.
That's
Whereas
for sure.
English Canada we are competing with the States.
Yep.
You know, for us to make it big or to be successful, you have to go to the States. The States, whether you're successful or not, it's just, this is just, and I'm not saying this is what happens, it's just what I've come to see so far. Whereas in Quebec, there is a cast. You can be successful in Quebec. Yes, you're competing with France, but there's it's different. I mean, there is a support for their own. For example, like, you know, there was a Saturday Night Live
in Quebec.
In Quebec.
Yeah, like, because it's its own culture, you know, it's its own identity. Whereas I feel like a lot of the entertainment in Canada is just like, it's trying to be it's trying to appeal to the US, but like it still has to have, you know, some element of Canadian niche to it, you know. Why it's, you know, when you see shows, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the ones that came out recently, like, you know, okay, Mark Critch has got a new TV show, and it's like, okay, that's going to be Canadian AF, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's structured like an American show, though.
But like laying on with like a ton of maple syrup on it, you know.
But and it was neat because like when I first did like even Robert Lepage, I didn't know how big he was until after I got it, and then doing some of my own research, I'm like, oh wow, he's pretty big.
Maybe it's a good thing though that you didn't know. You would be like,
well, here's a fun story. The first time I met him was my friend who I had replaced in the show. He was there. He goes, oh yeah, let's go see. We went canoeing because it was like, basically, you know, if you go down to the waterfront, you can rent the canoes and go over across the. So we basically did that, and he goes, oh, let's go see if he's home. I was like, what? He literally just lives right over there. Let's go see if he's home. I was like, okay. After we went canoeing. I dropped my camera in the pond in the river canoeing. So here's my first meeting of Robert Lepage. Going to his house, don't know him from Adam, and then my camera was soaked. He goes, oh yeah, well, let's take your camera. I've heard if we stick it in rice, this might work. Yeah. So he takes my camera. I don't know him from anything. He's the director of our show. Takes my camera, puts it in a bowl of rice, and then we just sit there. And that's my first meeting with him. It's like, this is absolutely nuts. But then since then, it's been, you know, I've got to work with him a few times, and the friendship has been, you know, it formed from there. It's someone that I can call and say, hey, how are you doing, and so on and so forth. So there's that.
Sounds like he creates some really interesting
some really interesting pieces. And then even like when I was doing Needles and Opium, the guy who's the main the main actor, Marc Labreche, when he first did it. He is the voice. Here's a fun tidbit. He's very known in Quebec and in Europe, in the French film, television, and theater circles. He's got there's like a mock soap opera called Le Coeur à ses raisons, where he did basically all the characters in it.
Oh, okay.
Here's another fun. He's the voice of Krusty in French.
Oh man,
I had no idea he was that big. I was like, oh, and
you're
like
Krusty you're Krusty the Clown, French Krusty.
And he's been so humble whenever we met, and we had one time where we left the theater in Lyon, and he'd come out, and then there were people there waiting for him, and I'd come out with him and talk to him. No, it was because they had just saw the show and they knew him. Like, oh, we need to take a picture. They'd turn to me and goes, "Can you take the picture for me?" I was like, we both went like, yeah, sure. And then after he goes, I take the picture. He asked them, "Don't you want it with him too? He's in it." I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool." They just
guy
with him, but it's one of those where it's been great. But yeah, it's getting to work in Quebec and seeing the difference. There is a difference where I found where in English Canada or in Ontario, it seems like you're either doing film or you're either doing theater or you're doing television.
Oh,
it's not like, okay, we like to do it all. That's why when I say jack of all trades and master of none, it's I don't want to be famous. I'd rather be working.
Right.
Yeah,
no, that's great. That makes a lot of sense. And it is nice that it seems more kind of holistic, it's all of the realms of performance. It's not just stage, it's not just screen, it's everything.
I feel like it leans more on the creative as opposed to the commercial that way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There is a lot of creative outlets there.
I'm just thinking of like Denis Villeneuve, like probably like the coolest director in the world. Well, he's a top world director and Quebec guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not the one who passed away. Who's the one who passed away recently? It wasn't Denis Villeneuve. It was another one.
No, he's still around.
The one who directed Crazy. That movie was so good. There it is. Jean-Marc Vallée. Anyway, I loved that movie, Crazy. It was really good.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, check it out. It's great. Very coming of age. Like it's set in the 70s Montreal, and it's this guy and his right. It's like it's a guy who's like coming out to his family, and it's just very like Quebec in the 70s and how that process looked and how crazy it was with a really amazing soundtrack in the background. Really awesome music. Okay, Wellesley, I love this adventure. You've been on such an adventure with your performances over the years. It sounds like it's just like COVID obviously must have, put a little bit of a wrench in it, but what would you say? Go ahead.
It's been cool because I've just kind of, and maybe I should specify more, but it's more like I've done stuff that or tried to explore things that kind of speak to me. Growing up as a child of influenced by Sesame Street and stuff. I did puppet prov at Second City,
nice.
which evolved into the puppetry and the opera.
Yeah.
Which evolved into the latest show that we did, which is called Courville, which is we've been using these live action puppets, or not live action, these real life puppets where it's manipulation and they're to scale. So we've been doing that, and then I did a course with puppet mongers, or I did some workshops with puppet mongers, which is a puppetry theater here, where it was learning how to learning some puppetry and how some movement and so it's kind of I haven't tried to just pigeonhole myself into I'm only film and television now.
It sounds like you're hitting every arts that you come cross.
Talk about the like. This is like yes and, you know what I mean. The spirit of yes and, you know what I mean. It's like, okay, do you want to do some beatboxing, which will lead you to this, which will lead you to this, which will lead you to this? Yes and yes, please.
I'm just waiting for the point where you're like, yeah, and I'm on the revival of vaudeville theater.
Yeah. Oh no. Hopefully, it's much better than it was before. Because vaudeville, man, these performers they would get ripped off. You know what I mean? Like the performers, it was a tough life for the performers. The people who like ran the show, they were making tons of money, but the performers. But I guess that's it, right? You did it because you love performing, which leads me to
like even last week I just did a book. I was just reading for a book or an audiobook for the CNIB. So there's voice work in that I'm doing with that too. So it's kind of like, you know,
you have a lovely voice. It is nice and soothing.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You need to get in touch with the people at Calm.
Calm, there you go. Yeah. Well, that being said, Wellesley, since you've been following your passion and following each new opportunity as it comes up, do you encounter points where it feels like more of a struggle? I mean, I suppose
all the time.
Okay, great. Tell me more. Oh no, he froze.
No,
he got too excited telling us about the struggles, and now he froze.
So as I was saying, every day it seems like it. You know, am I still there?
Yes, you're here.
Good. Just want to make sure.
We're listening attentively.
So just before COVID hit, like we did frame by frame, and I was like, okay, good. So this show might start to tour now. You know, we had got some dates that might be happening. We might be going to Japan. We might, you know, and this is with the National Ballet, and then COVID hit. Boom.
Ugh.
Shows were canceling left, right, and center, except for Le Rossignol, the Nightingale, which was being revived in Lyon. I hadn't done that show for 2.5 years, because the last time we did it was in Toronto, and then since then I was doing Needles and Opium, but then they wanted to do it just before, you know, COVID. They were like, you know, we're still going to do it. It's still going on. I was like, okay, this is when everything was shut down, you know, when Toronto was still a ghost town and the Foxes were taking over Toronto. And all contracts were being canceled except for the show in Lyon. Wow. And Lyon was really pushing hard, and they were like, and for me, I was like, I had the toughest track in that show because I was tumbling, and I'm like, I haven't been able to train because the gyms are closed.
Of course.
I don't feel comfortable. So, and this is December October 2020. You know, there was a real push. I went to Quebec City to work on Courville for creation and rehearsal process. And they were trying to get information. They're trying to push us. They wanted our travel, you know, here we are, the acrobats, we're working together, and we're trying to find out, okay, so if the show gets canceled, what happens?
Yeah.
They weren't giving straight answers. Like, okay. So then we had another talk with all of us, and some people were like, I'm gonna go, no problem. I was still sitting on the fence because I was like, something doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
You know, at the time. And what happens if somebody catches COVID and you have to cancel the show?
Yeah.
They weren't giving straight answers. So what happened was I was speaking to one of the other acrobats, and I was like, you know what, I don't feel totally comfortable. I'm going to step back away from the show. He was like, you know what, no problem. I understand. That's fine. At the same time, I was talking to a friend of mine who lives in Lyon, who's also a performer, and he was like, there are no shows happening, nothing in December, nothing in January. They're extending. At this point, you know, Canada was on the do not fly in, or, you know, that limited list.
Yeah,
France got hit pretty hard by the COVID too.
Yeah, they had to get, for those who wanted to go, they had to get a special letter from the government of France to say, yes, we can come over.
Wow.
And so on and so forth. Now, fast forward to January when we were supposed to be there. They did rehearsal. Great. Watching it. I'm watching what's going on. Rehearsal. Day before they were supposed to open, show got canceled. because one of the technicians caught COVID.
Of course.
And I was like, I had a feeling this was going to happen.
No, that's a bad idea. Like, oh my God, the loss of money.
Yeah. So they were still, they were still pushing it. Now, fast forward, all the other contracts that I had, they got canceled. But then, last year things started to get a little bit better. So I went to Quebec City. We did Courville, and that was the show with the puppets. Now, when we were there, we were watching what was happening with the Quebec regulations and so on and so forth. So in the summer, it was limited capacity when we started our run. So they started the run, it was limited. Whereas here in Ontario, everything was done. There was nothing going on. And then it was limited to capacity. Then they expanded the capacity, and then it was full houses. So we were able to do the show, and it was good to be on stage. And then from there, I actually got to go to France, and then we did the show there in 2 cities as well, just before the Omicron wave that happened. So at least we got to do it. And it was great to get out on stage, great to perform. It's been tough with auditions because for film and television, it's the at-home auditions, which feel very weird.
Yes.
Self-tape and Zoom callbacks callback. Like the first Zoom callback I did, it did not go well. It felt weird. It was like, can you, I was doing it in my kitchen because
and the timing is so off, right? Like especially with I feel like with comedy, because we end up having to do a lot of it's comedy. It's about pacing and stuff, and sometimes it's like a Zoom. Somebody's got a delay, somebody else doesn't, and it's just like, this doesn't feel right.
Well, it was like even
freezes on the punchline.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, like I didn't take any of the any on-camera courses or any acting courses or any improv classes because it felt weird to me to do it via Zoom. Like, and that's not knocking anybody who's doing it or who's done it, but for me, it just didn't seem right, or it didn't seem natural. That's like I stress it. That's just me. I mean, I did an improv jam with the Black Improv Collective.
Oh, nice.
And it turned out to be the medicine that I didn't think I needed.
That's a great group of people from like all over too, like what a fun I don't know if I would call it a collective, like you said, right?
Yeah. Well, it's an organization too, because they're it's pushing, it's encouraging, it's a hub.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as much as I loved doing the group, it was improvising to a camera, which felt a little bit weird because, I wanted to jump in at some times, but I couldn't jump in at the time I wanted to because that person wasn't finished. Right. So like, and finding that rhythm, that vibe, or, if you're going to tag somebody in, you pop up on the Zoom screen and there you are. Okay.
It does require a lot more patience because,
yes,
even in improv, like on stage, there's so much back and forth banter, and there could be 2 people talking at the same time, and then somebody else comes and takes the focus, but that's not possible on Zoom because you can only have, one person talking at a time on Zoom. Right? It can only be a back and forth. You can never have because Zoom will literally cut the mic of the person who's not talking as loud, right. So it's it is very different. I mean, believe me, as somebody who's been teaching it for the past 2 years on Zoom,
I've been watching you from afar, and I've watched some of the stuff that you've done as well. I'm like, more power to you, Brie, because I'm like, that's amazing. But for me, it was, and I've said it to everybody, I will not take anything away from it. But for me, it wasn't sitting right with me. It wasn't vibing with
I get it.
Personally.
I get it.
Yeah, like just looking at your career and stuff, it seems like you're very much into the being in the moment with other people and that interaction. And there's nothing organic about a call on Zoom.
No. And it's
except for this one.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. But it must have been challenging too, because you've spent so much of the past few years just like out and about and doing all kinds of great things, and then COVID kind of shuts things down, and then maybe opens it up again, but then shuts it down again.
Yeah.
It's definitely that, and then it's with my agent, I'm like, okay, so what's happening? You ask about the struggle, and I say every day, I'm like, so is there? And I'm also a union. I'm in the union as well,
right?
So that makes things even tougher, because being a union, there's a lot of non-union work out there that's happening. So I don't even know about the non-union work that's out there. And that's
some of it is sketchy. Like I booked a thing, and they're right in kind of the height of COVID, and they're like, can you come on this day or whatever? And I was like, okay, but who's doing the COVID test, and who's gonna, like, what are we gonna have as far as all this stuff? And it was like, it wasn't there. You know what I mean? So even some of the non-union stuff, you got to be like, watch out. Some of it's great, obviously, but. Yeah, but I guess the union
there's
probably
both sides.
Yeah, the union probably took all of this way more seriously, and they're kind of like, no, we don't want to work. We don't think it's fair to put our workers in unsafe conditions.
Yeah, and then you have the other side where you see all your friends who are working, or people are posting stuff where they're like they're working on. You see them on commercials, and you're like, oh, okay, great.
Right. Yeah.
What about me? Or you see the commercials or whatever that you auditioned for, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
They didn't like me. Or you get a callback, and then the callback that happens, and then nothing after that.
That's the worst. You should at least contact people if they don't get it. You know what I mean? I hate the callback, and then it's like, well, did I book it or not? You don't find out until 2 months later when you see the commercial live, and you're like,
I guess I didn't get it.
You could have just said you didn't get it. I need to know these things.
Well, yeah, like I said, I mean, I try to use the callback. It's like, okay, cool. I just made $50. Nice. That's what I got.
That's a good point. At least you're making $50 for callbacks. If you're non-union, you don't get shit.
Right? Or I mean, my barber gave me the best piece of advice when it comes to auditions. He's like, do them and forget them.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna be beating yourself up over it.
Oh my God, yeah.
And like even like I had a fun joke with Nigel the other day.
Yeah.
Because he's doing the Bell.
I saw him on some of the Bell commercials. Yeah.
So I auditioned for that Bell commercial. It was funny because I did it. I forgot it. And it was just before I went away to France. And then it was like the first time I saw it was midnight. I'm watching all the Olympics and then I hear this voice. I'm like, wait, what? I know these lines. Wait, I auditioned, and then I'm saying. So then I called.
Oh, weird!
I'm officially allowed to hate you right now. Then I called him the next day. He goes, I guess you didn't. He goes, no. I go, I'm officially. He goes, why? He goes, I saw your commercial, and I auditioned for it. He goes, oh man. I go, it's nothing but love, but I'm allowed to hate you. It wasn't all it cracked up to be. It was a little bit of a class. It was a little bit of a mess. It was the recording. I'm like, I don't care. But I auditioned for that, and I did everything you just did. He goes, yeah. But here's what happened. List A, B, and C. So then the next day, I was up, and it happened in the morning. Here I am taking pictures off my phone and then sending it to them.
How dare you?
Are there any more? I'm like, yep, here's some more. I sent them a couple more. I'm like, dude, it's like I have a lot of like I love seeing everybody working. Like I see Sharjal on
oh my goodness, Sharjal and yeah, that guy books a lot.
Yeah, and then I sent pictures to him like, hey, get off my TV. It's one of those where like I'll support everybody that's going on, but then you have that little monster that creeps in your head and it's like, hey, how come? What about me? Like how come? Like I'm not going on here, and then I'll call my agent. I was like, is there anything going on? She's like, it's really quiet. I'm like, okay,
I'm here. Remember me.
Don't forget about me.
Well, hopefully. Hopefully things will, open up again. I mean, things are starting by the looks of it. Hopefully things will stay stable enough that for long enough that you can get out performing again. And do you think that's kind of where you would want to continue, at least for the foreseeable future, continuing to do these performances and traveling and you know, and all of that?
Yeah, because like right now, like when I was in Quebec City for 2 months, I made it. It was a good payday.
Nice.
I'm not gonna lie. So, and then at the time, I was also working at Oakley, and the Oakley store in the Eaton Center.
Do you get free? Do you get cool free glasses?
Yeah, I did. I do have a
nice.
Collection. It's hard to me to pay full price for. I know how much I was paying as opposed to how much they're being sold for. Yeah, let's go there with that.
I worked at a movie theater, and I feel that way about popcorn. But something tells me Oakley is a little bit. It stings a little bit more.
It was like it's one of those you see them, like, oh, okay, yeah, you paid about $300 for that.
No.
Maybe a third of that.
Yeah. Name for the name.
There's that. But it was so they closed up shop, and I live in Scarborough, so I had the option was A, stay on, at the time when they went on furlough, it was stay on furlough or get transferred to another store. The two other stores were Vaughan Mills or Toronto Premium. So Milton or Vaughan Mills.
No, that's a bit of a trek.
From where I am, that's a 2-hour trek.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Dude, that's far for me, and I'm in Mississauga.
So like, that's 4 hours on public transit. I think during COVID, and that's on a good day. So that's not even counting rush hour. I think there's so when they close up shop or decide to close the store permanently, I was like, okay, you know what? I think it's a blessing in disguise. We can work on the other aspect of what I'm doing, which is to become a full-time artiste.
Yeah.
But with that being said, like I made it was a good payday when I was in Quebec. So I'm good that I'm living off of that right now, and living at home with my mother and my sister at the time. Right now. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say it. I do.
It makes sense right now.
No kidding.
Well, I travel. Yeah. So it's been,
Why? Yeah. What's the point of paying for a place if you're never there?
Yeah. So it's it has its ups and downs, but with that, like I have I'm not struggling, but at the same time I do realize that I might have to work at some point.
Yeah.
But I've been lucky in that respect. So I mean, this year I decided I'm gonna go take a bartending course.
Nice.
Sick. All right.
So that's happening. Or I've put some money back into what I'm doing. Like I just bought a new mic setup. I did buy a mic stand and music stand. So doing some voice work here and there.
Nice.
I joined Laughing Vikings if I do need to get self-tape and I need a reader or
perfect.
There. So there's stuff that's being reinvested into me. And like I said, I was in France. Right now I was supposed to be in Quebec City, but COVID they decided to postpone it. I was supposed to go to Taiwan in May. That has been now pushed until 2023.
Okay.
So like this year right now is looking like, okay, it might not be as successful in regards to the performing and touring, but and the flip side to that is, okay, let's work on commercial, or let's do some voice work, or let's see how the film and television auditions are going to go. Because my agent was like, so I have you till May. I'm like, yeah.
She's going to put you to work.
The industry is fickle. I mean, if you're not there auditioning, you get forgotten.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not there because I'm working.
Yeah.
So it's do I want to work and not be successful, or am I working and getting to see and getting to do everything? So to find that happy medium is the tough part. But it's it's I enjoy it, and then I like what I'm doing. I'd like to do we'd all like to do it more. And then you have that, or I also have that thought of, okay, what can I be doing different? What do I need to be doing different? What more can I do to get out there more? And I mean, there's always those little things that happen. Like even before COVID, I was like, how come no one's asking me to play on their improv shows anymore? Or what am I not good enough to help? But at the same time, it was one of those where, when it comes to the circles, I feel like I don't go to every improv jam every day because I have other things to do.
Well, it's almost like you got to keep reminding people that you're available, and it's hard sometimes. It's hard sometimes when you're like, well, I'm gone to France for the next 2 months.
Well, yeah, there's like I'm here, okay, cool, but at the same time, it was like, oh,
it was great. You always used to bring it when you came to propaganda. You know what I mean? Some people just half-ass their costumes, but you would friggin' commit. That was beautiful.
I think Cupid was my favorite one so far.
That was really good. Yeah. Well, hopefully when the new space is built, we'll hopefully be able to revive that show.
Well, it was like, and I said, you were one of, you had asked. I was like, yeah, cool. But you were also one of the first people to come ask me to play. So it was, and I always had a good time. I was like, yeah, I'll always say yes to, if I can do it, I'll always say yes to Brie. Like I Wheel of Improv when it was on, and have a good time there, and had a blast and just play. The open nights, at Second City when they're on, if I can go, I'd go.
Yeah.
4 people at Bad Dog, and I started with the Assembly for a bit.
Oh, nice.
But then got busy performing, doing other stuff, so I had to step away from doing that. So it's always been there, but it's just that that constant struggle of, okay, what can I do more, or what do I need to do more to get ourselves out there so people will remember me. But the industry, it's like, especially with film and television, if you're not out there auditioning every day, it's fickle. Like,
he is a fickle beast. But I mean, okay. But also, you do so much, and it sounds like, I feel like hearing you say this, and I would imagine another improviser, who like does a ton of improv, and then I would ask, I feel like I would ask them, yeah, but have you gone to the Yukon of Russia? Have you experienced, a live sumo match? So I guess it's, I think at the back of our minds, we're always like, what more? What else can I do? What more? When it's like, yeah, but you've also done, so it sounds like you've done some really cool things. And if things do, start going back, I'm excited to hear what else you get to, what other adventures you get to go on, regardless of if they're, in another country or if they are on the local improv troupe. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I get it. I mean, one thing I always tell myself is like, we are our toughest critics, right? So, and then I constantly tell myself that. And another thing I constantly tell myself is, don't compare your director's cut to someone else's theatrical release. I mean, it's, what people see on, online or whatever, that's what they want you to see.
Yeah.
And I try to constantly tell myself that, okay, yes, they're working, and yes, they're there, but what else is going on? And they're doing a lot of things, and I'm not on, people are on TikTok and so on and so forth, and getting a lot of likes and famous there. I'm not on TikTok because I'm like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah. Some of the ways to get famous nowadays sound really annoying.
As much as I'd love to, I got to do something every day or every 3 days. I mean, I'm still struggling with Instagram and Twitter. Even then, I'll post something, and I don't care who likes it. I'm just posting something because I liked it. And I'll leave it alone. If you want to enjoy it, great, cool. That's all great for me.
I kind of like it. I think it's more like, I like looking at it more like of a photo album for what you've been doing, as opposed to like, I'm putting this up so that everybody likes my shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or worse, I'm creating content.
I'm a content.
You're an influencer now.
Well, Wellesley, this has been such a delightful chat. Thank you so much for talking to us, because I mean, we were talking about social media, and so maybe now is the time to say, like, if other people who are listening today would like to follow your journey and follow what you've been up to, and you know, and keep an eye on, you know, your adventures, where can they find you?
You can find me on the Twitter box and on the Instagram. So they're both on the interwebs.
Okay.
And it's at Wellesley 3RD. So at WELLESLEY, the number 3RD. So Wellesley third. They're both the same.
Are there two? Are there two Wellesleys before you?
There are two Wellesleys before me.
Wow.
So I am officially the third, even on my birth certificate.
Oh, cool.
And my passport, it does say the third.
Wow, that's epic.
I don't have my web page up yet. I mean, I'm holding the domains. I have two of them.
Ooh,
but
nice.
There's nothing. I've been holding them for a good while now. But there's nothing there, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do something.
One day. But yeah, Instagram and Twitter, we'll get people to follow you there, and we'll put the links up on our show notes to make sure that everybody can check out what you've been up to. And hopefully you start getting back to, you know, cool performances and travels and that kind of stuff real soon. Nick, did you have any questions?
No, I do, Brie, but it's fine.
Oh, Nick, you gotta ask at least a question.
Okay. All right. Here's a good one. We can end on some optimism.
Ooh.
Once COVID is done, where are you most looking forward to going to next? Because you're a man of the world.
Well, based on what's possibly coming up, Taiwan is possibly coming up. Japan is possibly coming up. There was talk of Spain. But I'm looking forward to Japan again. Australia might be coming up again too. But the big ones that have been talked that have been pushed back to next year are Taiwan, Hong Kong, Japan, Germany. So the thing is, like,
the world.
It's tough for me to answer, because even though will send a calendar with these potentials, but it says to be confirmed. So even with me, even though those dates, those potential shows are there, they don't exist until I get it's confirmed.
Right.
So it's one of those, I try not to get overexcited. It's more like, okay, it's cool. We might be going here this day. I'll potentially book it up. Potentially, I'll put it in my calendar, but it might not happen. Like, I have friends in Vancouver who we might be going there, and I'd love to go there to see them as well as perform. And then, like, the big trips, like I said, they're work vacations. I get to go, and it's the best way to travel, and when somebody else pays for it.
That's for sure. Yeah.
So not only do I get to work, I get to see it, but and it's, you know, yes, I've been to Tokyo before, but it's, you know, I think Tokyo is my third favorite city that I've been to.
Cool.
Like, Wellington was number one. I can say that hands down.
What's number two?
No, I have to jump in. Tokyo, I think, would have to be number two, and then Nantes is number three.
That is a strong list.
Right?
But I'm writing these down. I was like, travel.
But then there are cities that I've seen that didn't make that top three. Like, I was in Lisbon for, you know, I was in Lisbon shooting a Canadian Tire commercial.
Amazing.
Right? And in that commercial, you barely even see me.
Look, who cares? I got to spend all this time in Portugal.
Right? It was a great work vacation, you know. I mean, so, like, that's on my list. Madrid is on a list of places that I love, but didn't make the top three. Sydney was great, didn't make the top three. Melbourne was lovely, and I got to love Melbourne. Like, I was there for 5 days, and it took me 3 days to figure out the beat and the speed, and then I was like, oh my gosh, the city is cool. It's not great, but, you know, there's, and then as you asked, it's one of those, like, oh yeah, I did this here. You know, make the top three, and I was there for 5 weeks.
Oh man.
You know, I spent the New Year's and Christmas in Amsterdam, and it didn't make my top three. So it's like it's just talking like I'm like sometimes I forget that I've been to that city. Like,
oh wow,
that's a nice that's a nice problem to have, I think.
Like San Francisco, I was there for a month and a half, and I was like, oh yeah, I was there for a month and a half.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It's that.
Oh, that's awesome. I look forward to seeing more of your adventures, and
I look forward to yours too.
Oh yeah, my Zoom classes online.
Which is also kind of the world.
Yeah, sure. I love it. Well, if you wouldn't mind saying struggle on with us, I think we'll wrap the episode up because this was a fun one. I feel like we traveled the world in this episode. Nick, what do you think?
For sure. Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Right.
It's just like a Bourdain episode.
Yeah.
But like all of them at the same time.
Oh man, we didn't even talk about food that much. Yeah.
I had live octopus in Korea.
What? Oh my god. Oh, yeah. The idea of that is making me cringe.
That's a story. That's a story. Well, it crawled off the plate.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
On that note,
the fish market.
All right. Well, hopefully we're not. We'll slowly crawl off the podcast. We'll say, struggle on.
Struggle on.
Everybody. Struggle on.
All right. Bye.
See ya.
Well, here we go, folks. That was episode number 76 of the Constant Struggle podcast with Wellesley Robertson.
Journey.
Oh my goodness, we went around the world a couple times.
Uh-huh.
And
we got frequent flyer points just from that episode.
I know, and it was so good. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, Nick, when we talk to improvisers, sometimes it's like improv, like deep dive. But improv was so secondary to this journey that it was a treat to see the other.
Wesley was improving his life.
That hashtag improv year. That's probably is already a hashtag.
Yeah.
So if you would like to learn more about Wellesley and follow his journey, because he's probably going to go around the world a couple more times, and I think it's definitely worth checking out.
I feel like you and I need to prioritize, like if he's doing something in Toronto that we could check out.
Yeah,
like,
that would be great. Or even Montreal, man. I'd go to Montreal. And we speak French, right? So we can get away with it.
An excuse to go to Montreal? I've never heard of it.
On y va. So we'll put all of his contact information, not contact info, that sounds freaky, but I mean like his social media information so you could follow his journey. We'll have that on our show notes at theconstantstruggle.podbean.com, and you can check it out there. We'll also be sharing a bunch of stuff on social too, so you can follow along on social.
Such as like Twitter at StrugglePod or our Facebook fan page at The Constant Struggle Podcast.
Yeah, definitely take a look at that. And if you're not already following us, be sure to follow us. Be sure to like our pages, share, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts. That way you'll get the latest episode every month once they come out.
Fresh podcast.
And if you want, we are also on Podbean. That's our main host. But you can find us on Google Podcasts and Good Pods as well. We're on wherever you listen to podcasts. That's where we are. And if you wanted to leave a review, oh my goodness, that would be so amazing. Tell everybody in the world what you thought about this episode, because I think that'd be pretty awesome.
We need to get our numbers up in Moldova.
That's very low listenership over there. Well, in the meantime, folks, stay safe out there. Look after each other and
struggle on.